How do you get over a mountain that, well, the road was abandoned in 1940, but it's still there, and I'm sure a pack mule can make that journey. They need more horses. They need more pack animals. They need llamas, alpacas, horses if they can. Donkeys and mules, even better. We're going back old school, and you know what's so strange about this? Is beyond helicopter, which is our modern era advantage, horse trains that have mule trains that have brought ice up to people who needed it for, like some of their insulin and things. Refrigerators are gone. There's people delivering medical supplies or getting together as community. And wherever you are on this beautiful blue planet, give thanks today for another breath. And be grateful for the things you have at your fingertips that you take for granted that so many don't across the mountain regions of parts of Georgia, Tennessee, Virginia, and especially North Carolina. What you're not seeing on the national news is a disaster that is going to redefine America. When people find out exactly the magnitude of damage that's not being reported. If you can envision something that is so disastrous that a flood comes through a village and you take it in your mind to, I can't believe that is the biggest amount of damage I've ever seen from a flood. And you need to multiply that by 30 to 50 to 70 times in some places in these mountain areas. Small streams, which were 5 feet across, are now 200-foot scoured gorges. Entire towns washed away. Because when you come up from a valley, you generally have the 2-lane road, and you build next to that road. And anything else going up, you need to have it on stilts. Or you cut through the mountain to make a flat area. That water came down so deep and so fast and filled that entire valley of every single mountain there that has a valley, a stream, a river, a creek, a tributary, into, when I say once in 1,000 years of flood water all coming down at the same time. It is 1.5 times more than any other known storm on the planet that has ever rained, ever. Trillions of gallons came down. The devastation is so far beyond even a Hollywood movie in terms of how many people are still trapped in the mountains. And it is such a limited response coming from officials. United States officials, you need to send more people down there. 1/5 of 1/8 of 1,000th of 1% really of what they need, even to get the logistics started and get a hub started. There's not enough helicopters. They need more horses. They need more pack animals. They need llamas, alpacas, horses if they can. Donkeys and mules, even better. We're going back old school, and you know what's so strange about this? Is beyond helicopter, which is our modern era advantage. Because I've seen so many horse trains that have mule trains that have brought ice up to people who needed it for, like some of their insulin and things. Refrigerators are gone. There's people delivering medical supplies or getting together as community. Old school. And not only old school with community, but old school with values and morals, and old school of using horses and pack animals and pack mules to get supplies up the mountains. There's no roads left anywhere. Anything that had a road next to a stream is completely gone. It is not there anymore. There's no more road. We have just reversed the clock to 1860 across western North Carolina and parts of Tennessee. I really can't even put it into your perspective. I can't even paint this picture for you. It is absolutely going to shake the core of our country here. And that is a no BS assessment. I absolutely can quantify that our country has been rolled back to the 1860s in Appalachia. Bank of America said, do what central banks are doing, buy gold. Gold is up 20% in 2024. The tech-heavy AI-driven NASDAQ only 17%. Reports coming out of a Samsung solid-state battery breakthrough sent silver skyrocketing. JP Morgan forecasts silver to surpass $36 an ounce in 2025. And Patriot Gold Group has an OP for Life IRA, where your IRA or 401k could be in physical gold or silver.
No fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call, 888-546-7020. And now on with the video.
The roads are gone. How long will it take to replace the roads? Anything with water. Water pipes busted. The immensity of the torrents. And I'm not even going to say floodwaters or flood torrents that have stripped and gouged the land back to gorges and bedrock where cities and towns once stood. And the response is all citizens trying to help themselves. And that's the best thing about this. You know, if you can find something negative in a very bad situation, the best thing that I have seen is citizens, peoples, communities are coming back together to help each other during this time. Like all those other things kind of fall to the wayside. What's your pronoun? What's your politic? Doesn't matter. I'm trying to stay alive. We have been sold a bill of nothingness. We have bought the Brooklyn Bridge because there was about 360 mobile substations that they could move around in emergencies, but we sent them all over to Ukraine. And now we don't have enough repair for our own states right now, and they need the power so badly. Their generators are gone, line gone, mobile gone. It's all been sent overseas. So now we don't have anything for our own electrical emergency infrastructure, even just band-aiding, if that's a term, or full-on repair, which is going to take quite some time. Again, substations, they're completely wiped away, like down to nothing. The bolts that is keeping them into the concrete has disappeared. It's been scoured that much. Entire substations gone. Bridges gone. Homes gone. Neighborhoods, parts of neighborhoods gone. It is so vast. We are at a juncture in history that I cannot see that we've seen many times before. The sheer size and magnitude of this disaster, and then people trying to help others in their local community are now being told they cannot. So I'll read you a direct quote here. This comes from Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, TEMA. They said TEMA and FEMA personnel are not confiscating supplies. This is a tweet from them here on the Tennessee EMA, at Tennessee EMA, if you're following on X. Any report to the contrary is false. So I'm reporting the news as I'm reading it here. I'm going to take both sides, and it's very important that we look at all the information tonight. This tipping point that's happening in America is this. I cannot believe it is at the South again. Thanks to overwhelming support from the community, we are continuing a coordinated recovery effort with local leaders to get supplies to Tennesseans in need. Please visit the website to learn where you can volunteer or donate today. And I'm thinking, awesome, you know what? I am motivated. I want to help my people around here, so I am going to run up and volunteer and donate. But again, the statement, TEMA officials originally posted this statement online. While local communities appreciate the volunteer spirit during disasters, please do not send donations that have not been requested by state or local authorities. I'm on ham radio at the top of a mountain, and I found a repeater that finally works, and I'm able to get a hold of somebody, and I need help. I'm not waiting for state or local authorities. You are talking to me as one individual on the other side of that radio that needs help. And if I have a chance to go up there with friends of mine, neighbors of mine, and talk to you directly, and maybe you got kids, you need the diapers, you need the formula, maybe somebody has a medical issue, they need different medicines, food, water, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm talking one-on-one to another person to try to help them, and that is being denied right now. I got a lot more firsthand accounts are coming in of people saying that they're not being able to get into regions or being able to deliver. And again, I'm just talking about TEMA's news release. TEMA is not accepting volunteers or donations until the life safety mission is complete. But wait, did you not just said to learn where you can volunteer or donate today? And then they tell you we can't do a thing until the next one, maybe. TEMA works with TVO, Tennessee Valley Organizations Active in Disaster, TOVAD. So what is this mixed messaging that we're getting here? The newest information I had just minutes before the show here, Mount Mitchell repeater on Echo Lake checking in now. Also, West Piedmont repeater antenna broke off during the storm, but there are those with antenna on the way up to West Piedmont repeater, which will then be able to link. So that's the whole thing about getting the ham network up. And see, ham it's individuals setting a network up that want to prepare for things just like this, and they're the only ones in town with information, with coordinates, with rally locations, with the items that they need to be delivered up there. There are rally points, and as we come through tonight, I do want to read some of the things. Now, Ransom, I don't know if you're hearing about what's going on out here, because it sure isn't making very much national news. But I really want you to know how crazy it is out here, and we need more news coverage, and we need more people talking, and we need more resources, and we need more help. Truly, 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 everybody, please tell somebody you know if you're listening to this that we need more help out here.
It's pretty obvious to say without getting any law enforcement upset about what I'm saying, that if you listen to last Thursday's broadcast, I literally, like a psychic, told you what was going to happen. I told you that you had to help yourself. I told you no one was going to come to help you. I told you it was going to be like Katrina. I told you the government's after the fact reporters and don't do anything when it comes to the actual event that you would need said help from. I've been watching in detail from the people that live there. Who cares what the authoritative sources are saying? Ask the people that live there. They're all over the interwebs. They're all over. You think all of those people are lying? No, they're not. And the crazy, horrible, terrifying things that they're saying are most likely real. And I think soon there's going to be a lot of censorship to cover up what is visible from this event, which amounts to a giant red streak of voters in the middle of the country, that FEMA is not really interested in your safety. And then on top of that, the after-the-fact reporters are not going to share credit with anybody that's actually doing the on-the-ground work, right? They're not going to say, hey, look at all of these wonderful people that save people and brought stuff. They don't want to do that. They want to get up there like they do every time, and you'll have some kind of law enforcer stand there representing their agency, and what do they do first? Do they say, it's a shame what's happening, we're sending help? No, they're not going to do that. They're going to say, I'd like to thank so-and-so from the so-and-so, and I'd like to thank Deputy so-and-so and the administration. We got to thank them, and let's thank the head of FEMA, and let's thank everybody and talk about what a good job we've done and pat ourselves on the back on national TV after you guys ignored it for like 3 or 4 days, just like Katrina. And just like, unfortunately, like I said, not to be Nostradamus, but last Thursday we told you if you don't know the topographical situation there, you might want to be figuring that out. You might want to be figuring out where the high ground's at. You might want to figure out what you're going to be drinking for the next week. We talked about the whole thing, the power outages, the loss of life, unfortunately, that may or may not happen. Now we know it's happening, and it's happening big time. Look at all those people, unfortunately, and I'm not trying to trash them, because some of the situations, it didn't matter if you were prepared for or not. It just didn't matter. When a 15-foot of wall is coming at you with the pressure of an entire hurricane's dumping water. But we did talk about it. Flash flooding in the areas. If you live in valleys or mountains or anywhere where water can accumulate, you better know how to get out. And then I'm looking on, the interwebs, and I'm seeing people sitting in floodwaters in their houses waiting for help. And unfortunately, like I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I did mention it last week that there would be a massive amount of people that are deer in the headlights, and they're waiting for the government to come help them, or Superman or Batman or whoever they were expecting to come that is not coming. You have to help yourself always and forever. And that means, unfortunately, you have to think into the future and prepare yourself for the unimaginable, which all of these people are now dealing with. But I guarantee you there's a large portion of country boys that just got wet, and they went out there and gathered up all their stuff, and they started right away, making a fire and making themselves comfortable and finding what food there was, and they're probably helping their neighbors out. You're not hearing about any of those stories because the whole swath of the U.S. is cut off from the world, despite all of the Starlinks going in there. Those people didn't know that Starlink was, they don't have internet, so how would they know that they're distributing internet everywhere unless they stumbled across it or, heard it word of mouth? So this whole situation...
Or heard it on ham radio.
if they were prepared and were thinking about stuff like that. I do have a ham radio. It's the old school, what is it, a Hummerland or Hammerland or something like that. I don't know. I don't even know how to use it. I have a book that tells me how to use it. And see, I'm way behind.
You need to practice, man.
Right, I know. And, you know, I was thinking maybe I should just go digital and forget trying to learn that old stuff. But guess what? After all the digital crap got wet, that old stuff there can be dried and cleaned, and all the tubes can be cleaned, and you can put it back together if you have a book that tells you how, or you already know how. But the point is that, you know, even with thinking about all of the stuff that you could possibly think about, thinking about all of the things that can possibly be inevitable, like, I don't know, a hurricane rolling into the U.S., it's not like it hasn't happened before. Matter of fact, it happened in 1916 and again in 1958, right up that same area, flooding all of those same people. I guarantee you the general population didn't know that. They had no idea that historically, every once in a while, a hurricane will roll right into inland and dump massive amounts of, converted ocean water right on them, and there's no place for it to go, especially if it's rained essentially the average amount that it does in an area. The ground is now full of water, and there's no place for that water to go but on top, which means pushing against your houses, your buildings, your cars. A lot of people have built their home on high ground, but then again, you know, I go to places like in Colorado and different places, they have a lot of nice houses, but guess what? They're right on the edge of the river today. And the river today is obviously not where you want to put your house. On the furthest point that you could see geologically in history, it's flooded. So in other words, you want your house to be all the way up where there's no evidence of flooding. Or, unfortunately, you're in what we call out west an arroyo, which is basically a big ditch which fills with water immediately because the surrounding ground is either super dry, where it won't let any water penetrate in, or it's already saturated, in which case you get a similar effect, which is just large amounts of water moving along the top of the ground, washing away whatever's in its path.
And I'll continue on with the substations, because getting heavy equipment up there, as I've seen in many a county, all of their Department of Transportation equipment was also washed away in the flood or extremely damaged to the point of it's salvageable. If it wasn't washed away completely to we can't find it anymore, it went down the river, of a truck or a dozer or some kind of excavator or whatever is there for Department of Transportation that they would need, salt clearing plows, this sort of stuff. The plows would be useful now also just to push a bunch of debris out of the way, not just for snow, but to push anything off the road. But there was massive floods that came through all those DOT yards also. So the equipment's gone. So they're waiting for equipment to bring in to that, actually get to the roads. They don't even have the equipment. They're waiting to get equipment in so then they can go do what they would have done off the bat had they had the equipment. So we're like 2 steps back getting heavy equipment up into there anyway to do it, real road, anything. But there's really not much road left. That's the whole thing that I'm trying to get back is all the infrastructure we put in place, like let's say from the TVA projects in the 1930s up until now in North Carolina has been washed away to a great extent. And all what you consider the moderns, modern piping, conduit, this sort of thing, also just mangled and ripped out of the earth violently. The telephone poles, the lines up there, the fiber optic cables, that you should see some of these just ghostly pictures of things dangling in the air that don't make sense how they got so twisted and are still just dangling there and not falling to the ground. Like, what is this woven dispersion inside broken 100-year-old oak trees, and then you have a telephone pole dangling that's been ripped out by the bottom on these cables in the middle of the road above you I wouldn't really want to drive under that, but it is in the fog, no less. Like these kind of ghostly images. They're going to have to rebuild almost every single, and I'm not going to say every, but almost every single road in western North Carolina will have to be rebuilt from scratch, from the ground up, with the surveyors there, with the packing equipment to level it and then resurface it. Literally every single road. Even if you had a four-wheeler, it would be very difficult to get up there. You are only going in by pack mule. And here's the thing. Old school, everybody would know the old logging roads and old access trails anyway. Like, it'd be way better to walk up an old logging road that even if it has some growth on it, than it would be to try to walk like 30, 45 degrees off the side of a mountain and try not to slip down. It'd be way easier to walk on the old logging road. And a lot of it's clear because people still use those. So the locals are going to know where it is, and you could take pack animals in there on those old logging roads to the same places because that's how they used to get the coal or the lumber or whatever out of there. Like, trace back history for a minute. Like, they used to have small gauge rail all over the place, especially when they were stripping this place for lumber all over the Appalachian. They nearly clear cut this entire mountain range in many, many places and then exported all this lumber out. Take a look at the copper mines and just strip this whole mountain range, in the 1800s. You wouldn't know that today looking at it, but it has been severely damaged by humanity but it's bounced back. I mean, we got all these national parks and everything out here. But just take a step back in time. Where were the mining towns? Where were the roads going to the mining towns that were given up for a larger highway or a larger state route further down? Those places just kind of got really small and a lot of people left, How do you get over a mountain the road was abandoned in 1940, but it's still there, and I'm sure a pack mule can make that journey. There's many ways in at the moment if you have pack animals and if you have helicopters, but pretty much everybody else not. And I wanted to read one comment I think I'd highlight. Oh, yeah. Ransom, you're talking about building on a hill. So we're on Rumble here, and this is a comment off the live. Hilltop Prepper. Hello from Newport, Tennessee. Seen a lot of horse trailers today. I will say, yeah, a lot of people are staging out of Newport to head up. And I'm wondering also on the other side of Cherokee, once you get up past Fort Loudon Dam and you're getting up in there, how badly anything was, and if that would also be an access point from Cherokee going up in there further. Okay, so back to the power. Again, you come up to, everything's been washed away. The roads, the bridges, everything that any sewer lines, any kind of telephone wires, poles, everything's just been scoured down out of the mountain. So you got to start back. I'm looking at this as we don't have the 360 substations worth of transformers and other electrical equipment sitting in stockpiles. See, that was all sent overseas. So you know how long it takes to produce a transformer, to manufacture one of those? That is not a easy task. Even from the power spokesman here, Jesse D. Jenkins, says it could take a very long time to restore power to everyone. And also, that was a flood damage event, and not many people had flood insurance because the mountains normally don't flood like that. Ever. People don't have the flood insurance. Now, couple this with all of try to get these mountains and get people out of them and get people off the product. Now, this has just been a general trend. I'm not talking about all the talk of mining and things that are out there around in Western North Carolina. I am only talking in a general sense where since this last couple of years, when the COVID came, a lot of people went out and got really self-sufficient real quick, ended up buying property, like a huge mass migration out of the cities into the countryside. They want to try to get everybody, at least most governments in the Western Five Eyes and others, back into the cities. So they're not so far out in the countryside. For some reason, they want everybody, if they could in their wildest pipe dream, get everybody rounded up into larger metropolitan cities and have the entire countryside devoid of human life and turn it all back into eco zones. And this was the grand plan. And Ransom and I have talked about this before, just in a general sense, like the movement forward and the rest of our lives, at least unless we do something about it, the plan is to rewild the world, basically. Put humans in cities, but you'll have everything you need. It's super close, man. I don't care if it's whatever want in life that you need will be approximately 15 minutes in your horizon or on your space. 15 minutes. That's the way forward. Now, everybody's got to come out of the countryside for that, but not a lot of people want to go. Now, where is one of the most entrenched areas, like Tennessee here too, East Tennessee, there's been families here for 7, 8 generations. I mean, they make fun out here and say, you know what, if your family's not here, haven't been here 3 generations, you can't say you're local. That kind of length of living off the land, knowing every square inch of your property and that kind of community together. It's only recently that it's kind of gotten split off. So, you come back from the last couple hundred years here, the last 20 has kind of lost a lot of the old ways. But people are going to be helping each other, and it's strange how they don't have any way to repower them. So who's going to stay in the mountains if you don't have power for 6 months, 8 months, a year? Coming into winter also, so obviously things are going to be way slower in winter. So everybody, you ever driven by a substation before, all the transformers and different things sticking out of the ground, you're looking, whoa, look at all those wires connected to this, that, and the other, and you're like, man, that's huge. And you can hear the zzz sometimes when you go by, and you just look at it and you go, you can feel the energy coming out of that thing. 360 of those are gone or non-functional or destroyed. So they have to rebuild 360 of those and then rewire the entire western section of North Carolina. And then they're going to have to put fiber optic through there too, unless the plan was just to use digital satellite or the Starlink or something. It can't be rebuilt in our world today with the cost. It would take a Manhattan Project style to get everybody back to safety, and then to rebuild that part of the country would be a Manhattan style, but in a modern day, and it would have to be at much larger volume. Because you're talking about earth moving and earthworks equipment, not just mining uranium or, doing diagrams on a board somewhere. This talks about how much asphalt would it take to resurface all of western North Carolina and parts of Tennessee and parts of Virginia and also parts of Georgia. How long would it take to rebuild the roadbed of each of those as well? And at the same time, all the sewers need to be rebuilt. Every single line, underground, all those 2-inch pipe, all that stuff needs to be reinstalled. An enormous amount got ripped up. Where do we even start? The reason we called the show tonight Redefining, because I really believe that this is a pivotal moment for American history as we're living through it. There seems to be a standoff, and I will say that one Bundy Ranch standoff is probably about the best equivalent I can give for it. Is if you go and you look at the Bundy Ranch, it was about grazing land and water rights and having cattle on multi-generation land that's gone back almost 180 years, something like this, in family generational land, and they're like, well, you can't use it anymore today because we said so. So there was that big standoff there, and that was about cattle and water on grazing rights, and then they had that big standoff, and you saw the thing go off in the news, and it was everywhere at the Bundy Ranch, right? But now the exact thing is happening. You got the federal employees and state employees standing in front of all these people, and then instead of it being cattle and water rights, it is family, starving people, and those that need rescue, and you're standing in the way of my family members getting help. Of anybody that they know that have been able to raise them on radios that they need help, and you're not letting us go up there. And this is the same standoff that is going on now. It's coming to a head. I can't say when, but tensions are getting very, very, shall we say, tight. And the locals are like, dude, we got it. We got it covered. We know all the routes. We know all the hollers. We know all the roads. The logging roads. We got this one. And we knew this way. There's the shortcut around the mountain because we used to hunt up there. We used to play as kids. We used to ride bikes. We used to ride four-wheelers and our motorcycles. And they know every square inch of this land. Every square inch. They all, amount of people that grew up here that know this place like the back of their hand. And they know all these ways into different places to help people. And they're being told they can't. The locals that live here told you're not allowed back to go help your own people in your place, even though you know how to get the stuff there way faster than we can. And they're told, no, you can't, just because. And then there's no explanation given except you're impeding the rescue effort, and we can do it faster. No, you're impeding it. You have to go through us. And people are not having it anymore. You're witnessing history unfold in front of you, and you're about to witness a different directional take on the country in this part of the country as well. They don't want you to fly drones. There was a NOTAM, notice to airmen, all-out ban on flying drones anywhere over North Carolina, anywhere over Tennessee and the disaster areas.